Hello everyone, a very good morning and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep. Welcome to the daily Hindu analysis. Before we begin today's discussion, we have a very important announcement. This Sunday on the 14th of Jan, we shall be conducting the BYJU'S National Scholarship Test. This gives you an opportunity to win a scholarship of up to 90% on our IAS courses. So if you're interested, just register by using the link provided in the description box below. And also we are offering one-on-one counseling for UPSC aspirants, as we have been mentioning in every session. If you want to know how to prepare for the exam, how to approach the UPSC examination, you just have to share your details in the Google form, for which the link is provided in the pinned comment below and also in the description box below. Just share your details and our counselors will get in touch with you. So with this, let's begin the analysis of today's The Hindu newspaper by first looking at the topics that we are going to cover. From the Delhi edition of The Hindu, I have chosen 8 important articles. We have 3 articles for a detailed discussion, largely from a mains point of view, and few more articles from a prelims perspective. So let's cover all these topics one by one comprehensively so that you don't have to go back and read the newspaper again. So if you're benefiting from this initiative, do let us know by pressing the like button, by sharing your comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. So let's begin with the first topic, and we'll look at this editorial from page number 8. This editorial is examining the current tensions prevailing in India-Maldives relationship. Now, this is a topic that we have discussed in previous sessions as well, but given the latest developments of the last week, it is important to revisit this topic and thoroughly examine India-Maldives relationship. So first, let's understand what has happened in the last week. I'm sure many of you would be aware of this, as the topic became a social media trend. Across the country, there has been outrage against certain comments that emerged from Maldives. In India, a trend has emerged calling for a boycott of Maldives, and it has obviously increased the tensions between India and Maldives as well. So what happened was, a few days ago, Prime Minister Modi paid a visit to Lakshadweep Islands, which is adjacent to Maldives. Prime Minister Modi tweeted about his visit and promoted the tourist potential of Lakshadweep. He went snorkeling as well, shared the pictures, pointed out how beautiful the Lakshadweep Islands were, and he was trying to promote domestic tourism. Now please observe, in this entire tweet and in the communication that came out from the Prime Minister's office, there was no mention of Maldives, there was no mention of any kind of competition between Lakshadweep and Maldives. But despite that, there was a negative reaction within few sections of Maldives. A few Maldivian ministers, the 2 junior ministers who are part of the government, they started tweeting that India was undermining Maldives and its tourism by promoting Lakshadweep Islands. There were very unfortunate remarks made against the Prime Minister, and many other anti-India elements in Maldives picked up the trend, and they started tweeting about Indians in general, passing racist remarks as well. So this naturally outraged Indians, particularly on social media, and this led to a backlash against Maldives. The backlash was so severe that hashtag boycott Maldives became a trend in India. Call was given by several social media influencers, platforms and others to boycott visiting Maldives and rather visit Lakshadweep instead of it. So this storm which has hit the India-Maldives relationship has very serious consequences for the region and especially for India's national interests in the Indian Ocean. See, social media sites have called for a complete boycott of Maldives, and this is definitely going to hit the tourist inflow into Maldives, because India has been the biggest source of tourists into Maldives in the last few years, especially after the pandemic. So given that Maldives heavily depends on tourist revenue, any such boycott from India, or from Indians at least, could have a devastating impact on the economy of Maldives, and this in turn could upset the ties between India and Maldives. So given these developments, let's dive deep into this topic. Let's understand why these issues have come up. What has been the response of the Indian government? And what is the history, the background to India's ties with Maldives? First, let's understand where exactly Maldives is located, why Maldives is critical for India. As you know, Maldives is a South Asian country. It's located in the Indian Ocean at a very strategic location. It's a member of important groupings as well, including the SAARC, the South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation. So Maldives is essentially a maritime neighbor of India, and we share a maritime boundary which was resolved between the two countries in 1976. So Maldives is an archipelago of islands. It's made up of hundreds of islands, close to 1,000 plus islands that stretch all the way from the southern tip of Lakshadweep, where you have the 8-degree channel that divides Maldives and Lakshadweep of India, and stretches all the way south below the equator. So Maldives essentially is stretched out in a north-south direction over thousands of kilometers. It's made up of hundreds of these small islands, and majority of them are uninhabited. Is that clear? So this is a big geographical disadvantage for Maldives because connectivity becomes a problem. Maldives is not blessed with great resources. It doesn't have freshwater resources as well. It can't think of large-scale agriculture or industrialization. But however, Maldives is blessed with pristine beauty, natural beauty. So this is something that Maldives has capitalized upon, and it has built a thriving tourism industry, and it's a world-renowned tourist destination. So given the strategic location of Maldives, it is extremely crucial for Indian interests in the Indian Ocean. India has major stakes in the Indian Ocean. India sees itself as a traditional power in the Indian Ocean. We look at Indian Ocean as our own strategic backyard. So naturally, India would like to be the most influential power all across the Indian Ocean. And this is a policy that we have pursued for many decades. So when Maldives became independent in 1965, it gained independence from British rule. It was a British colony as well. Immediately after independence, India reached out to Maldives and built a very strong relationship. Because see, we share a historical, cultural relationship with the people of Maldives. The Maldivians are closely linked with people from South India, particularly from Kerala, Tamil Nadu region. Ethnically, racially, we do have a lot of similarities. Culturally, historically, there are a lot of similarities. If you look back in time, when there were Gulf traders trading with the Malabar coast, some of these merchants would reach Maldives as well. If you look at the Chola Empire, for example, right, in ancient times, the Cholas had influence over the same region. The Kingdom of Travancore has exercised influence over Maldives historically. Even the Dehavi language that the Maldivians speak, their culture, their customs, they are quite similar to that of parts of Kerala. Now, one common demographic factor that you find between Maldives and Lakshadweep is that both are Muslim-dominated regions. Maldives is a Sunni Muslim majority nation, and so is Lakshadweep. So there are a lot of cultural, historical similarities, connections that exist. So it was only natural for India to reach out to Maldives immediately after independence and build a strong, formidable relationship. Very quickly, we resolved the maritime boundary line as per international law, and India became the provider for Maldives, be it economic assistance, military and defense support. In all these aspects, India became the primary backer of Maldives right from 1960s and 70s. Back in 1970s, Maldives was headed by an authoritarian leader, Maumoon Abdul Gayoom, who was very close to India. Despite being an authoritarian leader who ruled Maldives for almost 3 decades, almost for 30 years, He was someone who maintained stability in Maldives, maintained rule of law, protected human rights as well, and built very close ties with India. Indian leaders were as well back in 70s and 80s, right from Indira Gandhi to Rajiv Gandhi to Narasimha Rao. They all shared very good equations with Maumoon Abdul Gayoom. So very strong partnership had been built. Maldives would rely on India for all essential supplies from food to medicines to construction equipment. In fact, even the tourism industry, the hospitality industry here, which was built, received a lot of investments from India, from companies and hotels based out of India. Indian workers would play a big role in contributing to the Maldivian economy. Maldivians depended heavily on India for education, healthcare, etc. So that was the nature of the relationship, and honestly, even today, that is exactly the nature of the relationship. Maldives cannot do without India's assistance. India also relies heavily on Maldives for maintaining its strategic influence across the Indian Ocean. So it's a mutually beneficial partnership. In fact, whenever Maldives has faced a crisis or a threat, India has always been there to assist the country. Back in 1988, Maumoon Abdul Gayoom faced an existential threat. A Tamil militant outfit called PLOTE from Sri Lanka tried to carry out a coup attempt to throw out the Maldivian government in collusion with few corrupt Maldivian politicians. This conspiracy, this plot was to throw out Maumoon Gayoom, eliminate the president, throw out the government and capture Maldives. So during this time of crisis, when Maumoon Gayoom asked for assistance, it was India which responded. India launched Operation Cactus, and within hours, Indian troops were deployed into Maldives. The Indian Army deployed the para commandos with the help of Indian Navy and Indian Air Force, and within 48 hours, we managed to defeat this coup attempt, and we saved the life of Maumoon Gayoom and his government as well. So that has been the nature of this relationship, be it economic assistance or defense and military partnership. India has always been there to support Maldives. As you can see, Maldives being a atoll state, an archipelago of islands, it has a very large exclusive economic zone. And Maldivian defense forces are not equipped to defend and protect its exclusive economic zone. This is where India has played a critical role. We have provided training to Maldivian National Defense Forces, supported the Navy, their Army and Coast Guard. We have even supplied military equipment. Apart from military training, India has supplied military assets such as helicopters, reconnaissance aircrafts like Dornier, the ALH Dhruv helicopter, and even naval vessels have been gifted. We also carry out joint patrolling in the region. Indian Navy, Indian Air Force are constantly deployed in the region to assist Maldives in maritime surveillance and in safeguarding the exclusive economic zone of Maldives. Because there are many threats here in the Indian Ocean, from organized crime, especially drug and arms trafficking, to terrorism, and Maldives is even affected by natural disasters. So in all these cases, India is the first responder. India has consistently proven itself to be the first responder. Now take for example the 2004 tsunami that devastated Indian Ocean. When India itself was hit, and India itself had suffered tremendous losses during the 2004 tsunami, we still managed to send out assistance to other countries, and Maldives was one of the beneficiaries of the disaster management assistance given by India. It has faced an economic crisis as well, because it has a very narrow economy built largely on tourism, fisheries. It's not a diversified economy. So every now and then it faces a foreign exchange crisis, a liquidity crisis. And India has even set up a standby credit facility from where Maldives can draw funds to sustain its economy. In 2014, it faced a water crisis. Since fresh water is a precious resource in Maldives, it relies heavily on desalination. One of the major desalination plants suffered from a fire accident, triggering a water shortage in Maldives. Even there, it was India, the Indian Navy, which supplied water, drinking water to Maldives, and we even helped repair the desalination plant. We have made big investments in some critical projects. So this has been the nature of Indian assistance to Maldives. So Maumoon Abdul Gayoom remained in power from 1970s to 2008. And throughout this period, India enjoyed a fantastic relationship with Maldives. Post 2008, after Maumoon Gayoom stepped down, democracy was introduced with elections held in 2008, and a party known as Maldivian Democratic Party, the MDP, won the elections, and Mohammad Nasheed became the president. Mohammad Nasheed was again a pro-India leader. He continued the policy of Maumoon Gayoom, gave utmost priority to India, and very close ties developed and continued between India and Maldives from 2008 to 2012. So essentially, for the first 40 plus years, the relations were excellent. But then began the trouble in the relationship. It all started in 2011 with the opening of the Chinese embassy in Male. China had started stepping up its influence across the Indian Ocean from early 2000 itself. It was trying to encircle India, contain Indian influence in the region, and it had already countered Indian influence in Sri Lanka with the help of the Rajapaksa government. Just like in Sri Lanka, the Rajapaksa government was acting in favor of China and against Indian interests. Something similar would happen in Maldives as well, beginning from 2012. In 2012, Mohammad Nasheed was thrown out in an undemocratic manner. Following this change in government, the next leader, Abdullah Yameen Gayoom, deliberately adopted anti-India policies, cancelled several key Indian projects, and displayed a clear pro-China inclination. Let me give you an example to justify this argument. See, as soon as Abdullah Yameen Gayoom came to power, he cancelled the GMR airport project. The Male International Airport was being rebuilt by India's GMR Infrastructure, which is a major real estate construction company from India. India was executing this critical project. But within days of assuming power, Yameen Gayoom cancelled this project, took it away from GMR in India, and handed over the airport project to a Chinese company. Later, Yameen Gayoom joined the Belt and Road Initiative of China, started taking defense supplies from China, received massive loans and investments from China as well, and even leased islands to China. Strategic islands in Maldives, like the Fedu Finolu Island. The Fedu Finolu Island was leased away to China, sparking concerns for India. So now, India started looking at Maldives as well as a part of China's string of pearls strategy, which was designed to encircle and contain India. So these tendencies continued until 2018, until Yameen Gayoom was in power. But finally, India got a major breakthrough in 2018 when Yameen Gayoom lost the next elections. Ibrahim Soleh, the leader of MDP and a good friend of Mohammad Nasheed, won the elections, and we saw the restoration of a pro-India government. Ibrahim Soleh continued the India First policy that the previous Maldivian governments had followed. Mohammad Nasheed, Maumoon Gayoom, they had all followed a India First policy, meaning they would give India first priority in their foreign relations. So Ibrahim Soleh restored that balance, again adopted a pro-India policy and balanced the Indian and Chinese influence. So during this period, the Modi government stepped up investments. We provided $500 million in assistance for an inter-island connectivity project, the Greater Malay Connectivity Project. Because in a country like Maldives, connectivity from one island to another is a big challenge. Right? When islands are dispersed away, the only way through which you can establish connectivity is through air route or through the sea route, which can be complex and time consuming and expensive. But at least some islands, which are densely populated, can be connected through sea bridges. So China had already built one such bridge, the Sinamalay Bridge, when it was influential under Yameen Gayoom. So now India funded the Greater Malay Connectivity Project, which is still an ongoing project, to connect around 4 important islands through a sea bridge that would be built by India. We stepped up our defense supplies and defense exercises with Maldives. We even funded a Coast Guard harbor project. And very quickly, India had re-established its presence and influence. But the last few months, have brought back the instability in the relationship again. The next round of elections took place, and this time, Dr. Mohammad Muizzu won the elections, and Mohammad Muizzu is a close associate of Yamin Gayoom, belongs to the same party, the PPM, the People's Progressive Party of Maldives. Mohammad Muizzu won the election largely based on his India Out campaign, which was founded by his mentor, Abdullah Yamin Gayoom. After Abdullah Yamin Gayoom lost the 2018 elections, he had started an India Out campaign. He was calling for removal of Indian troops from Maldives. He was asking India to take back all the military assets that we had gifted. The helicopters, the reconnaissance aircraft, the naval ships that India had gifted. India was asked by Yamin Gayoom and his supporters who were anti-India to withdraw the military equipment we had deployed in Maldives along with the military troops, the Indian troops who were maintaining the equipment. So this policy, this campaign was continued by Mohammad Muizzu during his election campaign. He largely won the election by further promoting and building up the anti-India sentiments. So Mohammad Muizzu, who won the election, has continued this approach after assuming power, and he has not only called on India to remove the troops and take back the military equipment, but he has also refused to renew the hydrographic survey agreement. India had assisted Maldives in hydrographic surveys. This is assistance we provide to several Indian Ocean countries. Indian Navy has the ability to carry out hydrographic surveys, which are underwater surveys, to map out the sea terrain. This is crucial for deploying ships and submarines and even for exploring resources on the seabed. So we have helped many countries from Myanmar to Mozambique, Kenya, Oman, Sri Lanka. Many countries have been helped by India through hydrographic surveys. Even Maldives had such an arrangement with India, but Mohammad Muizzu has now refused to renew this agreement. And more importantly, his first visit, foreign visit, was to Turkey, which has become hostile to India in the last few years. Turkey has deliberately adopted a pro-Pakistan policy, interfered in India's internal matters, including on the Kashmir issue. So Mohammad Muizzu chose to visit Turkey, which is a break from the past because all previous Maldivian leaders, they would visit India first. Even Abdullah Yamin Gayoom, who was known for his pro-China inclination, had actually visited India first after becoming the president. So Mohammad Muizzu is the first Maldivian leader to not visit India, and rather he visited Turkey, and now he went on a visit to China as well, which coincided with the last week's controversy. So this is where things stand as of today. Now, the question is, what do we do going forward? Was it right for Indians on social media to call for a boycott of Maldives? Is that the right approach? What else can India do? That is the question. How can India handle the crisis? Because we can't afford this instability in the relationship. See, Prime Minister Modi has a dedicated foreign policy doctrine towards Indian Ocean called the Sagar Doctrine. It stands for security and growth for all in the region. Through this, India is promising security and growth for all countries in the Indian Ocean. Essentially, we want to emerge as the net security provider of Indian Ocean, which we have been doing for many decades. Meaning we provide economic security, defense and military assistance, disaster management assistance to any country in the Indian Ocean. Be it Sri Lanka, be it Mauritius, be it East African countries or Seychelles. We provide this assistance to every country in the Indian Ocean. So if India would like to continue this equation with Maldives, if we have to protect our influence, counter the Chinese influence, we need to keep the larger picture in mind. See, Indians, especially on social media, tend to be more emotional. They're known for their outbursts. And honestly, social media trolls, social media trends, and a hyper-nationalistic agenda cannot drive diplomacy. That can never be the right approach. See, what the Maldivian ministers tweeted was definitely something that India couldn't accept. But the Indian government would have handled it diplomatically. for a friendly government, for their ministers to pass derogatory remarks in public against the head of government is something which is uncalled for and it is extremely undiplomatic. Right? India would have taken it up through the official diplomatic channels and we would have used various ways through which we could have managed the relationship and ensured that Maldives remains as a friend of India. But the agenda got hijacked, the issue got hijacked by social media. Today, that is the power of social media. Social media has the power to influence policy making and decisions of the government. While the Indian response was understandable, the fact that there has been a call for economic boycott, right? And it's being projected as if it's a Lakshadweep versus Maldives kind of pitch or a game. This hyper-nationalistic trend will not do any good to India. It might satisfy your ego, it might give you a sense that you got revenge, you got retaliation against Maldives. But please understand, not every Maldivian is the same. Yes, there are few anti-India elements, but still majority of Maldivians are good friends of India. So we stand the risk of alienating Maldives in general by falling prey to such social media trolls, campaigns and a hyper-nationalistic agenda. As a large, powerful country in the region, we should not be seen taking offense to every statement and remark passed here and there. Yes, the remark being passed by government ministers is something of concern and the government would have handled, Ministry of External Affairs would have handled it diplomatically, right? But for social media to take over and exert such an influence that it could actually have a real world economic impact on Maldives, that is not right for India as well, because this will drive a further divide in India-Maldives relationship. As I told you, Maldives is heavily dependent on tourism. We are already seeing several cancellations of hotel bookings, flights, etc. Again, as I told you, it might satisfy your ego, give you a sense that you got revenge, you retaliated against these Maldivian ministers. But in the larger picture, in the long run, it is India which stands to lose. Because as the divide increases, this will bring Maldives closer to China. So what I'm saying is, please look at the larger picture. Many Indians, right, who were part of the social media campaign, who led this so-called outrage, they have a very narrow view, a very myopic, short-sighted view of the relationship. They don't know the background. They don't know that this is a larger geopolitical game involving India and China. They are just looking at the visit of Prime Minister to Lakshadweep, his tweet, and the backlash from Maldives, which was seen as an offense against the Prime Minister and against Indians. Right? It's not just about that. That is something which happened last week, but there's an entire history to this relationship. There's a much larger, great game going on involving India and China and other powers as well. So keeping these interests in mind, the government of India would do well to allow diplomacy to work and to ensure that it doesn't fall under social media pressure and public pressure. Trolls and mobs cannot drive policy making and decision making, right? Yes, the outrage is understandable, but it can't be allowed to dictate decision making. So here you should give credit to the government of India. The Indian government has been very balanced and diplomatic in its approach. India summoned the Maldivian envoy, registered a complaint, right? These ministers were sacked by the Maldivian government. Maldives issued kind of a formal apology as well. So there are many ways through which India can rebuild this relationship. We have tremendous economic leverage on Maldives. We can always extend any kind of support to Maldives which no other country can provide, not even China. Correct? So given that fact, India still has plenty of opportunities to stabilize this relationship. But it can't be left to social media trolls and so-called trends to dictate how the relationship should be. Because as I told you, this short-term approach, this emotional approach could have a disastrous impact where India loses out in the long run. So please understand this argument. You can expect questions on this controversial topic as well, as it has deep implications for India's neighborhood policy. Now let's look at another neighboring country. Today we have another editorial from International Relations, and this editorial is focused on the recent elections that took place in Bangladesh. Let's take a quick look at the elections in Bangladesh, the politics of Bangladesh, and how does this impact India. Now some of you might think, how do elections in another country affect India? How does the internal politics of Bangladesh have an impact on India? How is it relevant for the exam? Trust me, it is extremely relevant because our foreign policy towards any country is obviously dependent on the internal dynamics of that country. Without understanding the social, political dynamics of another country, you can never understand the diplomatic relations that we have with that country. So on the 7th of Jan, just 4 days back, Bangladesh held its national elections, and obviously there is only one clear winner. Awami League, headed by incumbent Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, is obviously going to win the election. The preliminary results are already out, and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina will be coming back for another term. Now, this is quite historic in Bangladesh because Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina hasn't lost a single election since 2009, and she has contributed to remarkable transformation of Bangladesh. But however, there are some concerns about her leadership style. Now, to understand this, you have to go back in time and look at the political divide in Bangladesh. See, in the latest elections, Awami League is easily winning. Sheikh Hasina is easily winning because there was no opposition except for few small parties which contested. The major opposition party, the BNP, Bangladesh Nationalist Party, had boycotted the election. The BNP had boycotted the election. So you need to understand why. What is this divide, the political divide between Awami League and the BNP? How does it impact India? Because in the past, UPSC has asked a question on these lines. In 2013 mains, with regard to internal politics of Bangladesh, there was a direct question in the mains examination. See, the Awami League is the one which championed the liberation of Bangladesh in 1971. The founding father of Bangladesh, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, founded the Awami League, led the Bengali liberation movement. And who was Sheikh Mujibur Rahman? He was none other than the father of current Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. So India had completely backed Sheikh Mujibur Rahman and the Awami League during the liberation war. We not only gave political support to the Shanti Bahini movement that was championing the Bengali liberation, we also provided covert support to Mukti Bahini, the armed rebel group fighting against Pakistani army. Eventually, we went to war with Pakistan in 1971 to liberate Bangladesh. So historically, India has shared very good ties with Awami League and especially with Sheikh Mujibur Rahman and his family. So post the independence of Bangladesh, obviously close ties developed between India and Bangladesh because Awami League, which came to power, was very close to India. It was grateful to India. All the pro-nationalist elements, essentially the pro-Bengali nationalist elements who were seen as secular and pro-India, they would always want good relations with India, and they were always grateful for the kind of support India had extended during the liberation war. But unfortunately, this equation got destroyed within few years in 1975 when Sheikh Mujibur Rahman was assassinated. Few rogue officers of the Bangladeshi army who were aligned with right-wing extremist ideology, who were still aligned with pro-Pakistani sentiments, they assassinated Sheikh Mujibur Rahman and most of his family members throughout the democratic elected government and established a military dictatorship. Military rule was established in Bangladesh from 1975, lasting all the way till 1990s. For almost 15 plus years, Bangladesh came under military rule, and the worst part for India was that we saw the rise of a pro-Pakistan government. The Bangladeshi military allowed anti-India elements to operate in Bangladesh, especially several terrorist groups backed by Pakistan, including Northeast insurgents. They were given direct support in Bangladesh during this period. Pakistan's ISI would extend its covert war against India via Bangladesh and even promote smuggling of fake currencies, drugs and weapons into India, leading to the destabilization of India. So this was a difficult period for India. Followed by the military rule, a right-wing nationalist party, a right-wing organization called BNP, led by Khalida Zia, came to power in 1990s. The Bangladesh Nationalist Party, again, is aligned with Islamist ideology and pro-Pakistan sentiments. So BNP also has nurtured anti-India sentiments. The BNP formed the government in 1990s under then Prime Minister Khaleda Zia. It again won elections in early 2000 as well. So even the BNP government, right, even after Bangladesh saw the restoration of democracy and elections were restored, still governments like BNP, which were aligned with radical ideologies and pro-Pakistan agenda, they were a threat for India as they continued the policy against India, the hostile policy against India. The security threats continued and our ties completely suffered. So India's ties with Bangladesh has improved only after Sheikh Hasina brought the Awami League back. In 1996, Sheikh Hasina won the first major election, became the Prime Minister for a few years. But her victory in 2009 was a turning point. It was a landmark event. Following few constitutional changes, Sheikh Hasina brought back a majority government with complete stability, and she completely transformed the relationship of Bangladesh with India. As soon as she came back to power in 2009, she addressed all the concerns of India. The security concerns primarily. The Northeast insurgent groups were decimated. The safe havens for terror groups, criminals, were destroyed by Bangladesh. Is that clear? Insurgent outfits like ULFA, NSC and NDFB, which were all a major threat to India, were wiped out due to the cooperation between the then Manmohan Singh government and the Sheikh Hasina government. This cordial relationship continued. Bangladesh gave transit access to India as well, through which we could interconnect our road, railway network and even inland navigation network to open alternate routes to Northeast India. So Bangladesh has become a critical partner in South Asia today, and a large part of the credit goes to the friendly Sheikh Hasina government led by the Awami League party. So definitely India's interest will be served as long as Awami League is in power. But however, this cannot come at the cost of democracy. See, Sheikh Hasina has led the transformation of Bangladesh. From 2009, there was a major economic transformation that we saw in Bangladesh, where microfinance penetrated to the grassroots. Several industries, especially textiles and even few agri-based industries in the jute sector, rice and other key sectors, Bangladesh performed really well, and Bangladesh improved its socio-economic performance. Employment opportunities were created. Bangladesh became a fast-growing economy, and today it's on the verge of becoming a developing country. In fact, this even reduced the scale of illegal migration into India. Previously, Bangladeshis were heading to India in large numbers, mainly due to lack of opportunities in Bangladesh. So this was changed by Sheikh Hasina, and today illegal migration has dropped drastically. But however, concerns are coming up. Today, Bangladesh economy is going through a crisis again. There is high inflation. Unemployment is coming back. Public debt, government debt has gone up. And there is a foreign exchange shortage that Bangladesh is likely to face in the coming days. This is mainly because of the post-COVID impact and also the impact of the Russia-Ukraine war. So in this delicate situation, the erasure of democratic traditions in Bangladesh is a concern. Because see, there is intense rivalry between Awami League and the BNP. Sheikh Hasina has tried consolidating power, and the Awami League under Sheikh Hasina has used force to counter the opposition. See, historically, the BNP has resorted to violence. Being a right-wing political organization aligned with few extremist elements, the BNP and few other radical parties have promoted fundamentalism as well. Radical fundamentalism has gone up. They have engaged in blatant acts of violence. See, especially one sensitive issue was the trials of the war criminals that was restarted by Sheikh Hasina. In 1971, the then Pakistani army had committed a genocide against Bengalis. Millions of Bengalis were slaughtered. So after Sheikh Hasina came back to power, some of these cases were reopened and these war criminals were being tried. And this became a sensitive, divisive issue in Bangladesh. While the Nationalists and Awami League wanted the war criminals to be punished because they were all pro-independence, they were pro-India. They were the secular elements, by the way. This was strongly opposed by BNP, which represents the radical forces and the more extremist forces. The BNP tried backing the war criminals, it opposed the trials and their execution as well, and it led to large-scale violence. In fact, in the last 1 decade, there have been violent political clashes between BNP and the Awami League. So as a result, the Awami League government has used force to crush the protests, and this tendency has only grown and increased over the last few years. It reached a point where Sheikh Hasina ordered the arrest of Khalida Zia, and she remains in house arrest. The primary opposition leader is under house arrest, and the BNP has been decimated by Awami League government. Now, some of you might think this is good news for India. But please understand, any weakening of democracy can never be good news for a democratic country like India. Yes, Sheikh Hasina is a great friend. Awami League has been pro-India. BNP has been anti-India. Correct. But the increasing authoritarian tendencies of Sheikh Hasina is also a concern. See, for example, Muhammad Yunus, the Nobel laureate who championed microfinance in Bangladesh, has been arrested. There have been large-scale protests by textile garment workers, which has not been addressed by the government, and again, force has been used to dismiss the concerns of the garment industry and the textile industry, which is the backbone of the Bangladeshi economy. So the increasing authoritarian tendencies, the tendency to use force to crush any kind of opposition, is something that should concern India, and India is definitely watching these developments closely. For now, it's good news for India that Awami League is back in power, Sheikh Hasina is back in power, but there are going to be consequences if there is a further deterioration of democratic traditions in Bangladesh. So that is why there is a bigger game going on here between US and China as well. While China also has gotten closer to Sheikh Hasina, China has brought Bangladesh under Belt and Road Initiative, provided massive loans and funds. It is today a weapon supplier as well to Bangladesh. So this is something that really bothers India. But parallelly, the US is opposing Sheikh Hasina and her authoritarian tendencies. So this brings India and US into conflict. While India resists the Chinese influence, we wouldn't like Sheikh Hasina and Awami League to be undermined, which the US has tried to do in the last few years. So this is a very complex geopolitical situation, and the electoral outcome and what happens next will definitely determine the stability of South Asia itself, given that Bangladesh is such a major country in South Asia. And don't forget, we share the longest land boundary with Bangladesh. So whatever happens there, any adverse event will spill over into India, right? So this is what we understand from this article. Now coming to the next article on page 10, the article talks about the formation of fog. It helps you understand the geographical process involved in fog formation. We can discuss what is fog, how is it formed, and why especially northern India, the Indo-Gangetic Plain, why does it suffer from intense fog formation during the winter season? We can even talk about its impact. So this is relevant for both for prelims and even for your mains. The reason why this article has been brought out by Hindu is because in the last week of December, there was very dense fog formation across northern India. Not just in Delhi NCR region, but even in Punjab, Haryana, parts of Rajasthan and UP. There was very dense fog formation which disrupted day-to-day life. Transportation connectivity was disrupted, causing a lot of inconvenience to people, and it had an economic impact. So let's use this article to understand quickly what is fog, how does it form, why do we see such intense fog formation in northern India, what is its impact. Fog is basically, it's a collection of water droplets basically. See, water when it evaporates, right, the water vapor, the moisture present in the atmosphere, when it cools and condenses under certain environmental conditions, this results in the accumulation of small water droplets almost close to the surface of the ground. This is what we call as fog. To give you a simple explanation, think of fog as a cloud that is closer to the ground. Just like you have clouds which are formed through the process of evaporation condensation in the higher reaches of the atmosphere, the same similar process happens closer to the surface of the earth. Essentially, fog is nothing but a thick cloud present near the ground. Is that clear? The water vapor, the water moisture present in the atmosphere at the ground level condenses under the right conditions, the right environmental conditions, and the collection of these small water droplets at the ground level is what we call as fog. Now, for the occurrence of thick fog, there are certain conditions that are needed. First of all, the temperatures have to be lower. The atmospheric temperature, the ground temperature has to be low enough. There should be enough availability of water vapor. Obviously, for the condensation to happen, for the water droplets to accumulate, there should be enough moisture available near the surface. Now, please understand that in this entire process, the temperature disparity, the temperature difference between the Earth's surface and the air above it is very important. Because there is a temperature gradient between the temperature of the Earth's surface and the temperature of the air present right above the Earth's surface. This temperature gradient plays a big role in formation of fog. See, especially in the winter season, in the case of India, right? During winters, the temperature obviously drops during the night and especially in the early morning hours. By then, there is a lot of aerosol accumulation, particulate matter accumulation. It could be dust, pollutants, which is accumulated. These aerosols act as binding elements to which the water molecules will bind, leading to formation of thick fog at the ground level. Right? So high humidity, high moisture levels is absolutely essential along with the low temperature with a temperature difference between the Earth's surface and the air above it. Now, in this process of cooling and condensation, there are two types. One is infrared cooling and the other is radiation cooling or radiation fog. This is the process by which the water moisture is cooling and condensing to form fog. One type is infrared cooling, the other one is radiation cooling. Infrared cooling occurs over seasonal changes. That is when summer transitions towards winter. When we transition from the summer season to the winter season, right? Obviously, you come across a major drop in temperature, right? In the summer months, the Earth's surface would have warmed up. That heats up the air above it as well, right? So there is no temperature difference during summer season. But as the winter sets in, as the Earth's surface cools down, even the warm air present above it will cool down and there will exist enough temperature gradient or a difference that will help in condensing the water moisture present. All right. So this seasonal change which happens from summer to winter, where there's a drop in temperature, availability of moisture, and this results in fog formation, this is called infrared cooling. That happens over few weeks and few months. Whereas radiation fog is an occurrence of day-to-day changes. Sometimes there could be extreme changes in day and night temperatures and the moisture levels. This unseasonal changes which occurs. Let's say the day is very warm and very humid, but in the night there is a rapid drop in temperature. These day-to-day changes, intraday changes, results in sudden intense cooling at the ground level, leading to fog formation. This is called radiation fog. Now, the big question is, why is northern India so vulnerable? See, fog forms in southern India as well, in northeast India as well, but the thickness of the fog, the intensity of fog formation is much more severe in northern India, in the Indo-Gangetic plain. The reason is, in the Indo-Gangetic region, the perfect conditions exist during the winter months. As the winter sets in by November, December, and all the way till Jan, Feb, during these 3 to 4 months, the ideal perfect conditions exist in the Indo-Gangetic plain. From Punjab to UP, from Rajasthan to Delhi NCR. Across this region, you find low temperatures. The wind currents from the Himalayas and even from the Arctic would have entered the region, cooling down the region substantially. Wind speed becomes very slow and almost stagnant. There is enough moisture availability, and as you know, there is enough availability of aerosols. Enough particulate matter is present due to high levels of pollution, right, which creates the right condition for fog formation. Now, where is this moisture coming from? How come this part of India, the Indo-Gangetic region, how does it have such a high moisture presence during the winter month? This moisture is being brought from the outside. Mainly it comes through western disturbances that brings rainfall to northern parts of India in the winter season. Right? The western disturbances moving from Mediterranean region over parts of West and Central Asia enters India from the west. This brings enough moisture, causing rainfall, which induces the moisture needed. Then, even from the Arabian Sea, there can be an infusion of moisture towards the northern Indian region, the Indo-Gangetic region. So this accompanied with stale wind, essentially stagnant wind currents, low temperatures, and presence of aerosols and pollutants creates the perfect mixture, perfect combination for fog formation, and that's why it intensifies and becomes a very thick fog situation. Now, such fog formation during winter can have a big impact. It has a huge social, economic, and health impact because visibility will drop. As the fog becomes thicker and thicker, visibility can drop to just few meters, and this directly affects transportation. You might have heard about several road pileups and accidents that happen in the expressways near Noida, Gurgaon, etc. Right? Road transport becomes dangerous, especially during early morning and late evening. Air and rail traffic will be fully disrupted. Is that clear? Many times flights are cancelled, trains are cancelled. Road transportation becomes risky, and as a result, this has a direct socio-economic impact. Plus, the fog, the thick fog mixes with the smoke, the pollutants, forming smog condition, which is a major health hazard. Right? The air quality drops and contributes directly to various respiratory disorders in the region. So this is the impact of intense fog formation in the Indo-Gangetic region. So this completes my detailed discussion of all the big articles in today's newspaper. Now let's quickly head towards the prelim section and take a quick look at the smaller articles. On page number 12, the Hindu has an article that refers to FCRA, the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. Is that clear? According to the article, around 1,000 plus NGOs have received FCRA approval from the Ministry of Home Affairs, and several NGOs and even religious organizations have received approval to get foreign donations, foreign funding. The article itself is not too relevant for us, but FCRA can be important. So let us see what is FCRA, Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. This law was first enacted in 1976 during the emergency period by the then Indira Gandhi government. Because back then, the Indian government perceived that there was excessive foreign interference in India's internal matters. There was a presumption that foreign intelligence agencies, particularly that of the US and Western countries, they were meddling in India's internal matters by funding independent non-state organizations. It could be NGOs involved in social work. It could be aid organizations. It could be even media outlets, etc. The allegation was, and the suspicion was, that foreign funds were being used to manipulate these pressure groups to cause destabilization, economic and political destabilization of India. However true or false these assumptions were, there was a need to regulate foreign donations, foreign funding into non-state entities in the country, especially NGOs, aid organizations, etc. Because this is a legitimate concern. Because hostile countries, through their intelligence agencies, can covertly sponsor and fund not just radical forces, but they could even fund media outlets, NGOs, and other organizations, including private organizations, to create internal destabilization. So to regulate the inflow of foreign donations, this law was brought in. It was designed to regulate foreign donations, and the law has been amended several times. It has been amended several times, right, including the 2010 amendment, which was a major amendment, and new rules have been notified even as recently as 2021. So this law is administered, enforced by the Home Ministry, by the MHA, which is responsible for internal security of India. So any NGO or any such organization operating in India, if it has to receive foreign funds and foreign donations, it has to get the approval of MHA. Is that clear? Now, of late, MHA has received a lot of criticism for refusing to grant the approval. It has even blocked funding and even perceived or pursued cases against certain NGOs for alleged manipulation within India by receiving foreign funds. This has led to allegations as well that the government is targeting NGOs and the civil society when the real threat doesn't exist. But of course, this is a controversial topic. The government feels on the grounds of security, we need to regulate foreign funding and foreign donations. But sometimes the allegation is that there is excessive regulation, the government overreacts and blocks out funding for any organization which is critical of the government. Now let's say there's an environmental group, right, or a human rights organization which is questioning the Indian government, criticizing the Indian government and its policies. What if the government misuses FCRA to block out funds and foreign donations to cripple the organization? So these are legitimate concerns of the civil society as well, but the government also has legitimate concerns. So FCRA has become a controversial tool, but you should know what purpose does it serve. Now, I would like to give you a small exercise. Please read about the provisions of FCRA. Take a quick look at what kind of provisions are present under it. And please mention at least the top 3 points that you come across. It's a small homework that I'm giving you so that you can put in that effort, read a little more about FCRA, right? And figure out the most important points about it and mention 3 of them in the comment section below. Next, on page 14, we have an article referring to a drone which was launched yesterday in Hyderabad. This drone, called Drishti 10 Starliner, it is largely built indigenously by an Indian company that is Adani Defence and Aerospace. The Adani Group, which is a major conglomerate in India, has ventured into the defense sector as well after it was opened up for private participation. So Adani Defence and Aerospace, based out of Hyderabad, has developed a drone named as Drishti 10 Starliner. This actually is not an entirely Indian drone. It's not entirely designed and developed by Adani Group. It's only produced in India. This is actually an Israeli drone. It's based on the Hermes 900, which is an advanced unmanned aerial vehicle designed and developed by Israel. As you know, Israel is a major supplier of drones to India, to Indian Armed Forces. We already have Israeli drones in our fleet, such as Heron. Heron has been the backbone, the mainstay of Indian intelligence agencies, Indian Armed Forces as well, right, which is of Israeli origin. Now, Israel has transferred the technology of Hermes 900 to its Indian partner, which is Adani Group, Adani Defence and Aerospace. So with almost 70% indigenous content, the Hermes 900 has been produced in India, and the Indian version produced by Adani Defence and Aerospace is named as Drishti 10 Starliner. Is that clear? It's a medium range, high altitude, long endurance drone. It's a medium range, altitude, long endurance unmanned aerial vehicle. It can remain afloat for a good 36 to 48 hours. It has a decent range of few thousand kilometers, right? And it primarily serves the purpose of ISR, intelligence gathering, surveillance, reconnaissance. The platform will primarily be inducted into the Indian Army and as well as into the Indian Navy. Is that clear? So it was launched by the Chief of the Indian Navy, who has pointed out the role of drones today in today's hybrid warfare. Today, it's not just countries which are using drones in warfare, like Russia and Ukraine, but even non-state actors like Houthis have been using drones with deadly effect. We have discussed how Houthi drones have disrupted shipping in Red Sea and in the Arabian Sea. Right? Indian Navy is closely looking at these events and incidents. So deployment of such drones produced in India, even though it's a foreign design, producing that in India is of great significance as it could build more self-sufficiency for India. Right? So the Indian Navy, Indian Army are going to induct the initial batch of Drishti 10 Starliner primarily for intelligence gathering, surveillance and reconnaissance missions, which helps in border security, maritime surveillance, right, etc. Next, on page 16, we have a very, very important article. It refers to a report of the ILO. What is ILO? The International Labour Organization. It publishes a very important report called World Employment and Social Outlook Report. Please write this down. The World Employment and Social Outlook Report. This is a flagship report published by the ILO, the International Labour Organization. Is that clear? So this can come as a direct prelims question. So according to the report, which is based on data from 2022 and as well as data partly from 2023, the report is warning about rising unemployment around the world. See, prior to pandemic, in the pre-pandemic days, unemployment levels had already started increasing at the global level. The pandemic caused a major disruption, economic disruption. Of course, unemployment rates went up even further. But in the last couple of years, things had started to improve. As the economy was opened up, lockdowns were lifted in the last 2 years, right? Employment also picked up, unemployment numbers went down. Even the real wages for workers increased around the world, thus contributing to reduction of poverty levels as well. But now in the last 1.5 years, again, there are few risk factors for the global economy, right? The rising interest rates in several economies, rising inflation is a major concern. China's deflation is a major concern. Plus the ongoing wars, right, in Ukraine and Gaza is a major concern. So given all these risk factors, the ILO report is warning that in 2024, we are going to see a further rise in global unemployment. It had declined for a few years, but now we are going to see a further rise in unemployment and a decline in real wages. That is the actual income earned by the workers. Even though India stands better compared to other G20 countries, the concern is there for India as well, and the report is pointing out that millions of workers around the world could be pushed into poverty. So the findings of the report is crucial to understand employment data, to understand the wages that is available to workers, right? And this is a crucial input for policymakers as well. So please note down the name of this report, the World Employment and Social Outlook Report, brought out by ILO. Now coming to the last article. In the last page of the online edition of the Hindu, that is page number 2, which is dedicated to science and technology, there is a reference to a very interesting phenomena that was recently discovered, a cosmic phenomena. In 2021, a Japanese researcher came across a massive burst of cosmic energy. This was unprecedented. This cosmic energy, this cosmic wave that was detected in 2021 happens to be the second highest energy cosmic ray event that has been discovered by humans. Is that clear? Now, what are these cosmic rays? See, cosmic rays or these cosmic waves, they contain charged particles. It could be protons, alpha particles, the nuclei of helium atoms, and even subatomic particles, right? They are released through various processes, cosmological processes, and we are yet to understand these processes. It's largely associated with solar activity and related phenomena, but we don't have a complete understanding of cosmic waves. We don't know the exact source. We don't know where it comes from. It's been almost 86 years since cosmic rays were discovered. But even today, we don't know much about this astronomical phenomena. We don't know the source, the origin of these cosmic waves. But it has been crucial in our understanding of the physical world. The discovery of cosmic waves and the studies based on cosmic waves and its interaction with Earth's atmosphere has given precious research material which led to the development of the standard model in particle physics. Essentially, the study of subatomic particles, the discovery of subatomic particles was entirely possible because of the discovery of cosmic waves. So for astronomers, for physicists, right, studying cosmic waves, its origin source is critical to understand the universe itself. So this event that was detected in 2021, this cosmic energy burst, which is the second highest ever cosmic energy burst that we have detected, this has been named as Amaterasu or Amaterasu. It's a Japanese word that refers to the sun. It refers to the sun goddess in Japanese mythology. Is that clear? Because see, when cosmic rays, when they interact with the Earth's atmosphere, when the charged particles collide with the Earth's atmosphere, a lot of the energy is lost. In fact, life on Earth is possible because the Earth's atmosphere is shielding us from the high energy charged cosmic particles. But studying them, understanding the source, the origin, is critical to understand the origin of the universe itself. So this high cosmic energy event, which was detected, has been named as Amaterasu. So UPSC might ask a very basic, straightforward question. The term Amaterasu was in news. It's related to what? It's related to cosmic ray emissions, which is crucial for particle physics understanding and studies, and to understand subatomic particles. So on this note, I would like to bring today's discussion to an end. Please take up these two questions for your answer writing practice. I hope you guys have liked and enjoyed the session. If you did, please let me know in the comments. Do press the like button and without fail, subscribe to our channel. Now please head to the Telegram channel as well. The link is found in the description box below because we have a quiz on these topics that will help you revise these articles again. So that is it for today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Have a good day.